A speech from history is really a journal entry about someone else's speech outside of our class that has spoken in public for a purpose. We think of history as involving leaders, so it's usually someone with a leadership role. But you can find leaders in many different areas of life. And when I put up the handout, I was thinking of all the other speeches I've had through the decades that have been incredible and a great contribution to our class. It really does mean you need to be curious and you have to care. You might find that this speech is going to take you more time to pick the topic because it's going to get you involved in watching speeches, right? From political leaders to civil rights activists to women's movements to speeches at the UN. Right now, I have been watching all weekend long the speeches of Vladimir Putin and Volodymyr Zelensky, the president of the Ukraine. I didn't know him before this. I knew Putin. Putin's been in, I don't know, for 32 years. Prior to Putin, Russia was going more democratic. Not that they were going to be a democracy, but they definitely started taking in some of the lessons of democracy with the human rights initiatives, etc. That's all gone. Putin has a lot of characteristics like Donald Trump in the case that he does not care about the law, about the rules. He has a czarist mentality, so we see that in close parallels, right? Donald Trump, you could do a speeches about his if you want to do a speech of his, and you can definitely have a different political view from mine and be perfectly fine in this class. You're safe. I'm looking at your delivery. But it really does challenge us to think, what are our ideals? What is our philosophy of living on this planet? And I look at the Ukrainian people as heroes. I've never seen such courage in all my life on a broad scale. But many countries have leaders that we just don't know about because they're not on the nightly news. So perhaps you're connected to a culture that you have your own leadership organization that you would like to speak about. And that is great. That's what this class is about, sharing ideas that come from different paradigms that we would not be exposed to unless someone brought them to our attention. So as you look at the handout, it says it's a speech. What does it say? It says it's an information speech, but it's about another speech, obviously. But don't be fooled by the word history. It doesn't have to be something you found in your history book, but it usually is a leadership presentation. And I know that the two videos I posted that I saw from YouTube, that I do like them very much. I wanted you to watch them. They could stimulate you. And you could take any one of those speakers that was mentioned on the videos, from FDR to Gandhi to Margaret Thatcher to Churchill to President Obama, JFK, Robert Kennedy, and do further Martin Luther King, and do further research into their presentations. Martin Luther King did not just do the I Have a Dream speech, although that's a speech, if you do not know much about it, well worth your time researching. Also, there's not a lot of women represented, so I'd like to mention Michelle Obama and Ruth Bader Ginsburg and Hillary Clinton and Susan Warner, and there's many women present day that have been influential. Our vice president right now, absolutely, Kamala Harris, and the Supreme Court judges that are coming up, the one that has just been nominated. Incredibly important to understand that what they say out loud in public counts. All right, I'm looking at the handout now, and I'm seeing that I am mentioning that you could go to inaugural addresses like JFK's inauguration, right? Or graduation ceremonies. There's been some inspiring graduation ceremony speakers. And maybe it's someone you find in a movie. Some years ago, a student did a presentation on, at that point when Mel Gibson and his character in Braveheart is at the point where he has to motivate his troops and his people, and they saw that as a great example of a persuasive presentation in a moment that meant something. Don't forget, fiction is really an examination of the human experience. So you might find your presentation, you might find your topic in a movie that hit true to you, and you absolutely can do that to do a critique. So I listed some key questions like who is the speaker, what is the occasion, who is the audience, what affect did it have on the audience, did it have an affect, any influence? And you don't have to answer every one of those questions, but of course the basic ones, yes. But just give us a feeling, a flavor of the context. So have fun with this one. And if there's a speech you have in mind, but you cannot find it on YouTube, because not everything is on YouTube. There's a lot, but not everything. Please contact the librarians, the reference librarians. Here at Fall River, we have Emily Brown, who is the most outstanding research librarian you're going to find anywhere. And just tell her you're looking. She might direct you to the site itself. For example, if you're looking for United Nations speeches, go right to the UN. If you're looking for a speech that comes from the Greek government or the Greek Orthodox Church, go right to their site. And if you can't find it, then you contact Emily and say, I know what I'm looking for, I just don't know where to find it. So not every, we think we depend on YouTube so much, but YouTube is great. It has some wonderful presentations for you to watch and to enjoy. I think I've said enough. Intro, body, conclusion. So speech of history means you are doing a critique of someone outside of our class that has made an impact, and if not an impact globally, an impact on you. And that's the most important person. Maybe it was a sports speech, like Lou Gehrig's speech at the end of his time in baseball, and we knew he was so sick, he was dying. That was incredibly inspirational. Maybe you yourself have been on a sports team where your coach has delivered the right speech for the right moment and you want to speak about it. Just because we don't see it doesn't mean you can't speak about it. You can just tell us about it. And perhaps you can share where we could find it, but that's not a prerequisite. Even if we can't find it, you describe it in enough detail and that you'll be doing the assignment. I find this particular assignment one of my favorites because it does get me into the real world. It does, tweak my interest or pique my interest or get me thinking of how important the spoken word has been throughout our cultural history from the beginning of mankind. What we say matters, what you say matters, what you hear matters. So please don't feel like you have to be totally serious, though. I know we're in incredibly serious times right now, but it can be lighthearted as well. I will see what you come up with, but feel free to explore all your options. But if something automatically comes to you, like if you're a big Maya Angelou fan, or if you really like the speeches of Bill Clinton or Barack Obama or Ronald Reagan, who did some wonderful presentations, or Dwight D. Eisenhower or Churchill. I know, I go on and on, but I love the presentations of throughout mankind, from Socrates, from Aristotle. Of course, you'd probably be seeing actors reenacting those presentations, and that's fine. It's absolutely fine. I was reintroduced to Abraham Lincoln's Gettysburg Address because of this assignment, and I'm glad I am. I'm glad I had been. In my graduate studies, we did a lot of this, and it was wonderful. I think in one class we had to bring in 10 of what we considered to be the most influential speeches in the modern time, but that's what the YouTube videos were trying to do. Some of them were people that were represented on the YouTube videos, but it got me thinking, like, what has made an influence in my life? And it was very interesting to see the top 10 that each of my colleagues and my peers brought into class. You're only bringing one. So go to it. I think you get the picture. I hope everyone's well. Ciao, Bella.